In the late 1800s, the average workplace wasn't very pleasant for low-level employees. Innovators such as F.W. Taylor were able to increase production, but also dehumanize the work. Thankfully, things have improved dramatically since then, due in part to the influence of people like Abraham Maslow, Leon Festinger, Frederick Hertzberg, Victor Vroom, and others. One problem today is that while many corporations profess to following these theories, often they are more focused on the bottom line, and employees are savvy enough to know the difference.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
Good one.
Oh, that's terrific, Peter.
Fortunately, there is a new generation of CEOs who are making a difference. CEOs like Tony Hsieh of Zappos. Walking around the Las Vegas company headquarters, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more energized, driven, yet genuine and fun-loving group of employees anywhere. And to put this in perspective, people come from all over the world to study this company.
It's a great day here at Zappos. My name is Z, just like in Zappos. How can I help you?
We really want the Zappos brand to just be about the very best customer service.
So why are all these employees so happy and motivated? Employees who sell shoes over the phone 8 hours a day, earning normal industry wages. According to Tony, it's because they all share the same company culture, which is outlined in their 10 committable core values. In fact, core values are one of the few things Zappos takes seriously. How seriously? When is the last time you saw a company list their core values in a TV commercial? Yet there's number 3, for example. Create fun and a little weirdness, but more on that later. Let's go back to the late 90s. Fresh out of college, Tony Hsieh sold a company he had started because the corporate culture had become, well, corporate.
The company culture just went downhill. We didn't know any better to pay attention to it. And then with Zappos, wanted to make sure we didn't make that same mistake again.
So early on in the creation of Zappos, they sat down and defined 10 committable core values.
We all sat around one day and just asked ourselves, what do we want to be when we grow up? Do we want to be about shoes, or do we want to be about, something else, something bigger?
Core values to me are something that I use in my daily life.
The Zappos core values are a list of ideas, suggestions on how we run our business and how we treat customers, how we treat reps, how we treat our employees.
What are the 10 core values? They are deliver wow through service,
embrace and drive change,
create fun and a little weirdness,
be adventurous, creative, and open-minded, pursue growth and learning,
build open and honest relationships with communication,
build positive team and family spirit,
do more with less.
I have a lot of favorite core values, but one of my favorites is be passionate and determined.
Be humble. I like to first say that I am the humblest person at Zappos.
A company's culture and a company's brand are really just two sides of the same coin. If you get the culture right, you don't need to worry about a lot of stuff that a lot of companies spend their time and resources worrying about.
You can let all of your employees be your brand ambassadors, not just the marketing or PR department. And they can be brand ambassadors both inside and outside the office. Tony feels that many companies have core values, but they don't really commit to them.
Maybe you learn about it in day 1 of orientation, but then it's just kind of a meaningless plaque on the wall. And for us, by committable, we mean that you're willing to hire and fire based on them. And if you're not, then you're not really, committing. We actually do 2 sets of interviews. The hiring manager and his or her team will do the standard, looking for relevant experience, technical ability, fit within the team. But then our HR department does a separate set of interviews purely for culture fit. And they have to pass both in order to be hired, because we actually have questions for each of these core values. Actually, the one that trips us up the most in terms of the hiring process is number 10, be humble, because there's a lot of people that are really smart, really talented, really experienced, except they're also really egotistical, and they would not fit in at Zappos. The conversation at most companies, if you interviewed such a talented person, would be, this guy is really talented, he's going to add a lot of value to the company, but, he's probably going to rub you the wrong way, and you're going to be annoyed by him. But we should hire him. Well, keep making compromises like that over and over and over again. And I think that's why the company culture just ends up going downhill.
Everyone that's hired into the headquarters goes through the same training that the customer loyalty team or the call center reps go through, regardless of department or title. You might be an accountant or a lawyer or a software developer. You go through the exact same 4-week training program in which they go over company history, the importance of customer service, the long-term vision of the company, the philosophy about company culture, and then they're actually on the phone for 2 weeks taking calls from customers.
And then later on in your career at Zappos, we'll send you to Kentucky for a week where you do all the different warehouse functions, picking, packing, shipping, receiving, and so on. And this is all, having nothing to do with the job that you were actually hired for.
Again, this goes back to the belief that customer service shouldn't just be a department, it should be the entire company. After a week or so of training, it's time for what Zappos calls the offer.
And the offer is this. We will pay you for the time that you've already spent training and working at Zappos, plus an additional $2,000 to leave the company right now. And that's a standing offer until the end of the training.
As it turns out, on average, less than 1% of people end up taking the offer.
We also have something called a culture book. And it's close to 500 pages, and it's something we put out once a year. We ask all of our employees to write a few paragraphs about what the Zappos culture means to them. Except for typos, it's unedited. So it includes both the good and the bad, and it's organized by department. You can see how the warehouse culture might be slightly different from the merchandising culture, for example. And we give it to prospective employees that want to work at Zappos, and they can decide for themselves if this is the culture that they want to be a part of.
What else makes Zappos unique? Call the 800 number anytime, day or night, and you find yourself talking to a knowledgeable and entertaining call center employee who is empowered to do whatever it takes to help. In fact, if they can't find you what you want, they'll recommend a competitor's site. There are no scripts, no time limits on calls, and they also offer postage-paid 365-day returns and, in most cases, free overnight shipping. What are some of the other ways that Zappos maintains their culture? How about regular happy hours after work, a nap room, free snacks and drinks, professional development classes, theme celebrations, free lunch in the cafeteria, awesome picnics, even more awesomer holiday parties, nonprofit fundraising events, full health insurance, free annual haircuts, profit sharing, mini bowling alleys, tiki bars, daily comedy videos created in-house, and a full-time life coach. People come in to complain, get career advice, talk about personal problems, or just vent. The only rule is that they sit on a red velvet throne. So how has all of this paid off for Zappos? Well, enough that Amazon purchased them in the summer of 2009. It was the most money Amazon has ever spent for an acquisition, yet they have no plans to change the company at all. It will continue as a separate entity. So what lies ahead for Zappos?
We're trying to build a lifelong relationship with each of our customers, one call at a time.
One thing we neglected to mention, Tony leads by example when it comes to being humble. Looking for his office? You won't find it. He sits in a cubicle just like everybody else and refers to himself and the executive team as monkeys. Not bad for someone who is a multi-millionaire at the age of 24. How's that, you say? Remember that company Tony sold 2 years out of college? Microsoft bought it for over $250 million. That's right, he was 24 and he never had to work another day in his life. Yet he started Zappos. Why? Because sometimes life isn't about money. It is about finding a higher calling, about passion. And Tony's passion was to create a culture where every day he'd be excited about getting up and going to the office.
You can accomplish stuff by motivating employees, but I think you can accomplish a lot more by inspiring them to a bigger vision that has meaning to them and that you're passionate about.